up to you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I know I skip a part in there, but I use the older version. So, unfortunately, once again, it's really, it seems like it's a regular part of our meetings for a while now. We are going to start with a moment of silence. We lost two of our members since the last time we met. Julie McCracken, she was a regular at a lot of our in-person meetings. You may remember she would need help getting there. She came in a wheelchair, but she showed up all the time and helped with things. And Al Guggenberger, who meant a lot to not only Casa Grande, but the Democrats of Casa Grande. And Cindy's on with us today, and we all extend our deepest condolences. Al and Cindy did so much along the way for Democrats of Casa Grande, hosting events at their house for candidates, being in parades, and showing up at the meetings when we were in person. And I know Cindy struggled for a long time with Al's illness, and so we're going to miss him. He's a big part of our group for a long, long time. So I'd like to start out with a moment of silence. Thank you. Cindy, is there anything you'd like to say before we go on? I know I'm putting you on the spot here kind of at the last minute, but
no, I just thank everybody for their support, and I'm looking forward to getting involved again, since I've sort of been out of it for a little while. But thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so I met Cindy and Al back working. I don't remember which campaign, but at Ann Kirkpatrick's campaigns. And in 2012, Cindy and Al and Pat and I and a number of other people got together and reformed the Democrats of Casa Grande. And I think it was around 2012. And Cindy was our first vice chair at that time, and Dave and Carol Clark got us going. And so Al was a big part of all of that. So he will be missed. All right, we've got, as I said, we've got a full agenda. I'm going to start into some announcements that will dovetail with some of the people that can help me out with some of the things. So we are starting our 2022 membership drive. So you can do that on the website or send us a check. There's a number of ways you can do that. It's $20 a person. And if you re-up now for your membership, it's going toward the 2022 year. We are also still selling t-shirts and hats. You can see them over there in the corner. And I've got one on, very stylish. They go with anything else you're wearing, and people in stores and everywhere notice, and they say, "Oh, are you a member of the Democrats at Casa Grande?" In fact, we were at Fry's, I think it was Fry's, the day after we did the garbage pickup, the trash pickup, and we were in line to pay, and somebody said, "Oh, somebody was just here with one of those shirts. Did you have an event today?" So they get noticed. So they're $20 each. If you buy a hat and a shirt, it's $35. We've got a couple of different styles and sizes. So you can contact me or any of the of our steering committee, and we'll get or the website, and we'll get you that information. We will be in the November 6th Casa Grande, City of Casa Grande Veterans Day Parade. And the more of us that show up, the better we look. We'll have banners and one vehicle and people walking with the banners and signs and passing out some candy. So please join us for that. I'll have more details for you. That is Saturday the 6th, and it starts at 10 a.m., although staging and getting ready to go starts at 9 a.m. So I'll have more details out about that. November 13th, there's a couple of things going on November 13th, and one of them is the Fall Arts and Crafts Show at Robeson Ranch. And Diana Olson is very much involved with that. I'll hold up a sign. You can check with Robeson Ranch or check with us on more details. It's from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Hermosa Ballroom at Robeson Ranch. So lots of good fall items, decorative and gift items available there. Also on November 6th, same day as our parade, Pinal County PC training is taking place, and Lisa or Eric will probably have some more information about that. Bum, bum, bum. All right. So the Pinal County Board of Supervisors, a couple of things about them. They are still going to take another vote. It's going to be brought up again, and this is on the COVID money that they voted no on, but it's been reintroduced. One of the no votes has decided to change teams and has actually asked for it to be voted on again. So it will be. It'll come up again. So we want you to contact the Board of Supervisors. Debbie's got on our website information about that. With Deb, you want to say something about it?
I have all of their, the Board of Supervisors, there's 5 of them. I have all their addresses or their email addresses and their phone numbers. So choose whichever way you would like to get in touch with them. And there's also a little paragraph on there of something you can say. And I think, believe me, I think that they are paying attention to us. So every letter will help, even if it's a short one. Send it directly to them, or there's also a link on there to the Board of Supervisors page at Pinal County, and you can send it to the clerk of the board and ask that it be read into the record. But the important thing is the volume of letters that we need to get in there before November 3rd, is it, Ralph?
I think so.
That they're gonna talk about voting on this again, and I hear through the grapevine that McClure is the one to try to sway, because he's swayable. There's 2 that on the board that will not be swayed. They're going to be no for good, and there's 2 that are yeses. And then I would address my arguments to Jeffrey McClure, who is in District 4.
Right. I'm in District 4, so I'll be contacting them. We'll put out an email with some talking points and the contact information on that. Also with the Board of Supervisors, Pinal County Board of Supervisors, we had 2 vacancies turn up in our state legislature. Pratt in LD8 passed away, and Brett Roberts in LD11 quit his job. And so the Board of Supervisors in Pinal County, of course, it's understandable that they would be involved with the LD8, but the Casa Grande Dispatch actually had the information wrong about why they were involved with the LD11 pick, and I contacted our LD11 expert on everything political, and Evelyn sent me the statute and the what went on, and I sent that into the dispatch. They did. I asked them to print an explanation, but they didn't. Anyway, so we got in LD8, we got Neil Carter, who drove 1,500 miles in his car rather than get on an airplane, because he would have had to wear a mask during a pandemic on the airplane. So instead, he drove 1,500 miles. Tells you a little bit about him. And Teresa Martinez, who I guess is from Casa Grande, is Paul Gosar neophyte. She worked for Paul Gosar and has been right up until now. Tells you all you need to know about Teresa Martinez. So our representation in LD8 and LD11 will continue to be a joke. I want to bring up something that you may not know about. It may not impact you directly, but it's something that Eloy, Arizona City, even Casa Grande needs to be aware of. The Eloy City Council is considering entering into a contract to expand the landfill that's right down the road from where I live on Toltec, just past Battaglia. And what's happening is landfills across the state are closing. And so they're looking, the Republic Trash Collecting Company, whatever, I can't remember the exact name. They're looking to expand this site and have all the trash from at least 2/3 of the state come to this landfill. There's environmental issues, the image of Eloy and what people think of it is at stake. And so there's a website that Debbie Broom actually helped the citizens group, and I've been working with them, helping them get going. Citizens-against-landfill-expansion-info. Deb, if you could type that into the chat so people could see it. So take a look at the website. It's going to impact this entire area, and we're trying to raise some awareness. All right. So November 13th is the same day, unfortunately, as everything's happening same days, as the Ropes and Arts and Crafts Show. We are going to have a kickoff of our canvassing and volunteer activities. It's going to be at 10 a.m. November 13th. Again, I'll send out detailed information on this so you can hopefully switch some plans up or timing and attend. We're going to do a short training, and then we're going to send people out to do a short little canvas and then come back and talk about how that went. And that's going to be at Robin Jenkins' house. She's graciously volunteered to host this. So again, I will be getting information out. We're going to be collecting petition signatures for candidates and passing out information about our club. But one of the things we really want to do is connect with people and get their opinion on what the issues are that's most important to them when they sit around their kitchen table and make decisions about what they're going to do week to week with their paycheck and how voting impacts those decisions. So we're going to be coordinating with the Democrats of Ropes and Ranch. We've been working with them on a lot of different things, and we're going to be coordinating with them on this as well, including the canvassing. All right, I think I have gone through just about every announcement I have. Now I'm going to bring in Lisa Sanor from Pinal County Democratic Party in a little while, but I wanted to introduce our first speaker tonight, State Senator Martin Quezada, who is running for Arizona State Treasurer. And Senator Quezada and I got to know each other when I was a candidate. He was way more than helpful on working with me when I didn't know what I was doing in 2016, and also in 2018, helped me with a lot of things. We became friends, and I became a fan of what he did and interested in how he conducted himself as a senator, the legislation that he helped to get to the Senate, and what he stands for. So I'm going to let Senator Quezada talk to us tonight, introduce himself, and talk to us about his run for the Arizona State Treasurer.
Well, hey, good evening. Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Martin. Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me there? I'm gonna keep going here, and I just want to say good evening. My name is Martin Quezada, and currently I proudly represent the people of Maryvale and Glendale in Legislative District 29 as their state senator. I also serve as an elected school board member in the Pendergast Elementary School District as well. And I've had the privilege of serving the people of the state of Arizona in the legislature for the past 10 years. And I made a conscious decision on the day that I was first sworn in that I was going to act with urgency, and I was going to treat every single day as if it could be my last, and that I would never cast a vote that I would ever regret when I went home and looked at myself in the mirror. Because of that urgency, I've been placed by my caucus on the front lines of some of our state's most controversial and some of our most challenging issues. I've been expected to lead, and I've expected to be a champion for our values, and I've consistently delivered, whether it was expanding access to healthcare, whether it was protecting our freedom to vote and combating the lies surrounding the fraud, whether it was reforming our criminal and justice system, advocating for social, racial, or economic justice, or investing in our public schools. I have led on all of those fights. I've been your voice and I've been your advocate to provide a foundation for us to build upon our values. But in that time, I've also realized that, especially in regard to our investment in public education, there's a much bigger foundation that must be established before we can ever make progress on any of those issues. And that foundation is the effective, efficient, and transparent management of Arizona's taxpayer dollars. That has to be the foundation upon which we build all of our other values. And that's why the office of the state treasurer is so important, and that's why I'm running for it. A significant amount of the proceeds from the investments that the state treasurer makes goes to public education. You combine that with the fact that Proposition 123 will expire in 2026 at the end of the next treasurer's term, and it's clear that the next treasurer will need to protect and maximize those investments for our schools. So I want you to take a look at my two Republican opponents and ask yourself, have they displayed a motivation to protect investment in our public schools? I do, and I've shown it. And if you don't believe me, I tell you, talk to the people that know me, talk to the people that have seen me work in the legislature like Ralph, and take a look at my record. I've got the receipts. I've been there, and I've been a leader, and I've been your voice. But I also have other very important qualifications for this office. I've been a practicing attorney for the last 12 years, and that background and skill is going to be critical to ensuring that we follow the law in the way that we manage and the way that we invest our taxpayer dollars. I've also been a school board member for the past 11 years, where I've created a culture of responsibility, accountability, and the hiring of the right professionals to use their expertise to ensure that we not only provide a quality education to our kids, but we also adopt budgets that address our needs while still keeping us solvent and keeping our community's tax liability low. That's a simple recipe, and I promise you, those on the other side of the aisle do not have that. They have not shown the ability to do that. So that's a little bit about me. In conclusion, I just want to thank you for your time, and I ask you to follow me on all of my social media, sign my nomination petition. I need 6,325 signatures, and I ask you to make a contribution because I do need to raise a significant amount of money to run a competitive campaign. And we are planning to run a very competitive campaign in this race. So I'm going to post all of those links in the chat. But with that, I will open myself to any questions if you have any, or if you have time for that. And I just hope that I hope I can earn your support.
Yes, we have time. We have time if there are any questions. Anyone? Yes, Rhonda.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate all your work that you've done. My question is just simply, I haven't been to the site for a while. Can we sign your petition online?
Yes, great
Okay.
question. And yes, you can. And I put the link right there in the chat, but you can definitely sign my my petition online, and all of the other statewide officers and your legislative candidates and the congressional candidates as well. We can all get signed online.
All right, thank you.
And if anybody misses it in the chat, we've got that information on our website as well. So it's a link to the Secretary of State. You'll need either your driver's license or your voter ID card in order to do it.
Good question. Financial background, what I would tell you is my over a decade of managing success, but not only the school board level, but at the state legislative level as well. I've served on the finance committee. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys.
So we heard you.
If I turn off my video, can you hear me better now?
Yeah. So, Larry, did you hear Senator Quezada's answer about being on the finance committee and working in other areas? Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Senator Quezada. You're welcome to stay on. You don't have to. I know you're busy as a candidate. We understand if you've got other things going on. Please take care of those, and thank you for being with us, and we'll continue to get your information out to our group. All right. So I see Candy. All right. Giebenhan is on. And so she's with the Anthem Democrats. They've got an event tomorrow, and I know it's short notice, but I wanted to help her plug it. So, Candy, if you can unmute and tell our group what's going on tomorrow.
Hi. Okay. Well, Ellen Williamson is on here too, I think, from our group. Yep. And I don't know if anybody else, I can't see who all is on here, but we did put the word out anyway. And we're having a reorganization meeting tomorrow at 4 at the park and at Parkside here, Sun City Anthem. We've got the Anthem Democrats. We've kind of taken a break here for the last 6 months or so. Maybe the past year. We were doing Zoom meetings for a while and that wasn't going so well. So we're going to see if we can't get reorganized and rejuvenated a little bit.
All right. So if anybody's interested in going to an event that's tomorrow, what time is it, Candy?
It's at 4 o'clock, from 4 to 6.
Okay.
They should probably email me or call me. I can get the directions to anybody who wants to go. I mean, I did send them to you, but I don't know.
So if you could put your contact information in the chat, type it in there. Anybody that's interested can get that, and if you're unable to get it, contact me either later tonight or tomorrow morning, and I'll get the information to you. All right, thank you. So before we bring in our congressman, Lisa Sanor from the Pinal County Democratic Party, want to give us an update on what's going on with the county.
Oh, hello. Oh, CG Dems, how are you guys this evening? It's funny that Senator was talking about the school budget. Today in Casa Grande, the governor's office had a budget and legislative roadshow. And one of the first things they talked about was education. Strategically, I think they chose to talk about K through 12 education so that there would not be enough time for them to take questions. I have scanned the documents. I will send all of those to Ralph. That way that you guys can see that they're touting all of this education funding that is actually from the COVID relief fund and counting it in towards their current budget. So they're touting that. And probably the most interesting quote out of that entire meeting came from Matt Grease, who is the Director of Strategic Planning and Budgeting with the governor's office. and they were talking specifically about corrections officers and sheriff's officers. And he said, and I quote, "The best thing that could have happened to the state is that we have a no vaccine mandate so that we can grab other officers to come into from out of state and wherever with a few extra bonuses for them to come out and work here because we don't have a vaccine mandate." So it was an interesting meeting. In addition to that, to touch on something that Ralph had said, yes. And I saw that James Gravitt from the TDCCC is actually on this call. It will be a very much the same type of training that Casa Grande will have, but it will happen on the 6th from 1 to 5:30 at the Pinal County Democratic office in Coolidge, and I will drop that address in there for you. We will be covering deep canvassing techniques, and I and a few others will be there teaching some of our new PCs on how to use the minivan. In addition to that, on November 20th, we also have, and I will drop the Mobilize link in there too, part of our community service engagement will be a food distribution at Hope International Food Bank in Coolidge. And there is a high likelihood that we may have a special guest. I will let you guys know when I know. So we're going to keep it as a surprise for now. We had a new 9.2 map come out at the IRC today. It is interesting. They still haven't, it is interesting. I'm going to drop that information in there for you too. LD16, which will be what they call LD16 now, will cover three counties. It will cover part of Maricopa County, it will cover part of Pinal County, and it will cover part of Pima County. There is a high likelihood that in Casa Grande, you guys could have a representative who lives in Tucson, or you could have a representative that lives in Maricopa County. Interesting. That's about all I have right now. If anybody has any questions, please let me know, and I will try to answer them the best way that I can.
What was the date for the first event that you mentioned that's at the Coolidge office?
And November 6th.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have anything else for me?
Any other questions for Lisa?
Hey, Lisa, I might not live in Pinal County, but I have a question for you.
Sure.
If you're not happy with the potential representation that you might be getting in the state house or in Congress under these current maps, what's the best way to make your voice heard?
The best way to make your voice heard is to actually write into the IRC, and I have those links as well. You can comment on maps. You can actually, whenever they hold their meetings, I'm going to drop all that information into the chat here shortly. And if you guys don't know how to save it, you see the little happy face down at the right and the little 3 dots. That'll allow you to save the chat, and you'll be able to keep all of this information.
I got another follow-up for you. Why is it so important that we talk to the redistricting committee?
The reason because first of all, a lot of our communities of interest are going to get hacked apart. And one of the best examples of a community of interest that was successful in Pinal County would have been Saddlebrook Ranch. Saddlebrook Ranch wanted to be included into the same LD as Saddlebrook, and they have been successful so far in their efforts to ensure that they stay there. And it's very important to make sure that the IRC knows whether or not we are in a community of interest and what our needs and wants are. That way we have a voice when it comes into choosing who our representatives are.
And so everyone understands, as of right now, Saddlebrook Ranch is in LD 8 and Saddlebrook is in LD 11. So while they are right next to each other, they're in separate legislative districts right now. So. Anyone else? All right. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, James. James, do you have anything that you want to add separately from your IRC questions?
Yeah, I mean, kind of building off the topic of the IRC, I unfortunately don't have the link in front of me to pull it up, but the redistricting maps do not look pretty for anybody that does not live in a metro area. Quite frankly, the district that you guys have been voting in and been such great supporters of the congressman currently looks quite funky. I'm gonna mute real quick. My dog's barking. But I think that this might be a good time for Ralph to introduce the congressman. I am going to take a link if people are interested in getting looped in to volunteer when it comes to redistricting. We can put you in touch with the proper people to get the proper training to make sure that we're fighting for fair rural districts and fair rural representation, which includes competitive districts where your voice can be heard.
And my only question, James, is who let the dogs out? So as everyone knows, there has been a lot going on over the last several months, weeks, days, hours, minutes in Washington, in the Congress. If you watch any news channel or get any kind of connection with any of the news agencies by email or any other way, you know it's looking good 1 minute, bad 1 minute, holy cow, the next minute. So we've got someone here that's got his finger on the pulse, who's taking care of Arizona Congressional District 1 for the last 4+ years, and hopefully we get to keep him as our representative and work hard in 2022 to get him reelected, our Congressman Tom O'Halloran. Welcome, Tom.
Well, thanks a lot, Ralph, and hi, everybody. Great to be with you tonight. Sorry, I'm a little late. I have to tell you the truth. Our day was not a good day today, as far as a long day, and I got home and I got a call from Manica a minute ago. She says, "Are you going to be on with the Casa Grande Dems?" I said, "Well, I better get some clothes on and get out of my robe," because I was not exactly ready. But here I am, and it has been a long day. It's been a long couple of weeks, a few months. I'll give you a quick rundown of today. Our day started out with the president coming to caucus. He gave us a great speech on making sure that we could, when he landed in Europe this evening, that he would have a win back in the House and get the infrastructure bill to him so he could sign it. And right now there doesn't seem to be, I thought we had the votes. We've been working towards that goal and objective for the last 4 weeks. And there's a problem, obviously, between some members of the Senate and some of the Democratic caucus of trust. Then there's an issue of the fact that we have to recognize that when the president is overseas and is about to present to the European community and the G20 and others, the importance of that we show our leader, the Democratic leader of our party and the president of the United States, and that when he's on foreign soil, we have to back him up. And that did not occur today. And we have to get back to the drawing table. We were here 3 weeks ago. And 3 weeks ago, we should have done it then. And it didn't happen. And the frustrations are evident throughout the process. So the only thing we left with today is another continuation of the bill to move the transportation bill to so that we didn't start to have to lay off employees. And it was until December 2nd, which gives us 4 more weeks. This is not the way we should have started the president's first year in office. And I know I've gotten to spend time with the senior staff on an ongoing basis. Today, we were with the senior staff on 2 different occasions on Zoom calls. extensive ones between we have the major caucus and then we have the sub caucuses of whether it's the progressives or the new Dems or the blue dogs, or there's 7 of them. And we, Hispanic caucus, the black caucus, we all get along. There hasn't been a real problem there. The basic problem has been one of trust and the problems we're having in the Senate. And so we ended up with about 23 votes short of where we needed to be to put it on the floor tonight. I'm not going to cast any blame within the House, so we have a lot of work to do and we have to do it together. But the overriding issue is the President's senior staff has been meeting with us on a regular basis. I've been in a couple of meetings with the President himself. I had never been in the White House before this president, and by choice, I had been invited, but I just don't believe that was the proper time to go to the White House on issues that were going nowhere for the American people. But it was an honor to be there a couple times in the Oval Office and be able to be there in an intimate setting where a few of us were able to talk to the president about these issues. And it's upsetting to see that he had to land there and not be able to, and to meet the leaders of the world in the industrialized nations, and this occur. It's just something that should never occur. And the fact that he came to our meeting today, before he called the European leaders up earlier in the day today and said, I'm not going to be able to make it to dinner tonight because I have to be with the Democratic caucus in the House. I've never understood the fact that we're in agreement on numbers, we're in agreement on policy, we're in agreement on everything in the House. But there are a number of people that still do not trust some folks over in the Senate. So here we are, and we will get back at it on Monday morning. And I know leadership will continue to exert their efforts over the weekend with those members that had chosen not to do what we should have done, I believe. Sooner or later, after you've negotiated with people for 5 months within your own caucus, there has to be a level of trust. And so we're hopeful that we can get to where we need to be. But other than that, onward and upward, we're going to turn this around. We are going to be able to address these situations in a way that's good for a lot of the people. That I made a statement in caucus about 3 weeks ago that when I was a police officer in Chicago, I saw a lot of poverty, a lot of violence, a lot of families being destroyed, a lot of people with mental health issues that were not being met, people without enough food. I grew up in a neighborhood that was not exactly what you would call middle class. It was a tough neighborhood, and many times it was an integrated neighborhood. And I was sad to say at that meeting 3 weeks ago that in the 50 years since it's been 50 years since I left the police department. I guess more like 42 or 43 years, 44 years since I left the police department. Times haven't changed that much for the people in a lot of the country. So the disparities have been, can you hear me?
I can.
Ernest?
Yeah.
Let me go try to get back.
Yes,
on.
we can hear you, Tom.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Did we lose Tom?
I think he's attempting to reconnect real quick. His video kept freezing up, so I think when he saw everybody else frozen,
Yeah.
he figured to reset.
So he didn't want to mention any names, but we know it's Mansion and Cinema that are holding things up before Tom gets back on.
Yeah.
Right? Call Cinema's office. Do everything you can. Tell her to do her job. Get over herself and get this bill passed. Sorry,
Okay.
Tom. I was ad-libbing.
Yeah.
Am I back?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, great. So
Can hear
anyway,
you.
I don't know where you stopped hearing me, but we have to get this done. We have a lot of good leaders in Congress that have worked very, very hard to get us to where we're at today. But we have to overcome this lack of trust between the House and the Senate. And we have to overcome the ability to create an environment that we understand that leadership means getting things done, making agreements, allowing ourselves to recognize that the needs of American people, the people of America, come way before our own personal political agendas to get reelected or to have our perfect piece of 100% of what we want. That's never going to happen. It has never happened. And it shouldn't be that this hard to be able to come together on issues that we feel need to be addressed. We've had problems with people on both sides of the caucus, but those have been resolved for a few weeks now. What hasn't been resolved, as you know from the papers and everything, is exactly trying to get the type of cooperation that we've seen needed in the Senate. Other than that, that's tied up a lot of our last month or 2 months. And until we get this done, we're at a situation where I think, as the speaker says, and the president, this is some of the most significant legislation ever to come out of Congress in the history of America. And they're both right. It's going to help people that have never seen the type of help like this before in their lives or their families' lives. It's going to create an ability for America to compete. And on one side, we're going to have infrastructure and broadband and better education for our children and the better health care. And on the other side, we're going to have programs that are going to be able to lift up entire communities throughout our nation. And we have to get this done. And I think we will. I think it's about 2 months too late to get it done, but it takes time sometimes. But I know that, I do know that whether I'm frustrated or not at times, I know that the end result is so meaningful to the American people. And it shouldn't matter to any one of us, the hit we take politically from the other side or from some people within our society right now. We have to overcome this to make us a stronger nation. And these two bills will allow us to do that. So other issues, obviously, healthcare is going to be, this is not going to resolve all the healthcare issues we have in our country. Prescription drugs, which I've already voted for, I think 3 times in this since I've been in Congress, has not made it into the bill the way it should, and that's terrible. We should be able to get our prescription drug costs at least a competitive price of what other countries do across the world. Child care is in there. The ability to have Medicaid expansion right now only for vision. No, I'm sorry, hearing. And we're working on trying to get it. I'm one of my bills. It was in there is to address it from dental Yes, it's the most costly of the three: vision, hearing, and dental, and it would take the longest to get in. But when you think of what happens when, especially the elderly in our society or disabled in our society, um, cannot eat properly, even if they had the food, and the impacts to the heart, the liver, to the GI system, and it does take life away from people, and so we have to address that. And I'm hopeful that we are able to address that. Um, we the extension of the tax credit is going to be for a year, and then I think we have enough money for another year. And the thing is, this is all paid for. We do have some difficulties again on the Senate side with the inability of when you have the business community out there telling you months ahead of time, we can take a cut in our corporate income taxes from 21%, but please don't go below 25%. And we have people still saying, I'm not willing to make a cut below the 21%. And not understanding maybe that what this means to America, to be able to have that money, to be able to help people. The amount of money that we're going to spend on this bill right now is the Build Back Better is $1.75 trillion. And we probably could have been up towards 1 point or 2.2 or 2.5 in there, that range. That's what I was thinking a while ago. But we needed to be able to pay for these. And we couldn't get some people to get on board. I think that the underlying issue here is that that we have such narrow majorities. 3 in the House, 1 in the Senate. That doesn't help us at all. If we had 5 in the Senate or 3 in the Senate, and 6 or 7 in the House, this would have been done a long time ago. And we took care of our House problem pretty quickly. So you probably sick and tired of me talking about the Senate, but I think the best thing to do is get your questions and see how I can answer them. I did hear that you talked a little bit about redistricting our district. I don't know what it looks like tonight, but I do know that what it looked like earlier in the day was one where I was either going to be running against an incumbent, Mr. Gosar, which that is a challenge that I would look forward to because of there's such a uniquely different philosophy on public policy between the two of us. And of course, on the other side is, and I want Casa Grande back. We're trying to work to make sure Casa Grande area is part of our district. Right now, in the map that is currently out there, the city of Maricopa is, the Gila tribe is, the Atchue tribe is, but Casa Grande is not. Prescott is, and Payson is, and Oro Valley is not, and Marana is not. And so we go down, I think, as far as Oracle. And I would miss Casa Grande tremendously in that region down there. And I would not want to see some of the people that might be able to get in there take over control of that area. But we still have this draft map to come out. And I don't know, James, if you know, or Annika, if you're on, did it get out yet or not? Did they vote on it tonight?
So they approved both draft maps for LDs and congressional districts, but at the end of the meeting, it was made very clear that there wasn't unanimous support for either one, and they look to see a lot of changes be made both at the legislative and congressional district levels.
Good.
30-day comment period.
Because I did not like what I saw today with the legislative maps and the hurry that people were trying to push through. Anyway, let's get some questions, and either side, whichever one I'm going to be running against, I'm looking forward to it. There's that one gentleman that's one of the founders of QAnon, and he says he's going to follow me wherever I'm going. I'll give him the address of where to follow me to. I have no fear of that type of supposed leader coming after us. So anyway, questions?
So Tom is an old Chicago guy. I'm going to follow you anywhere too, and we'll be working for you. Hopefully where we live, but if not, we're going to follow you.
Well, right now, until all these things are finalized, I can get as many petition signatures from my current districts as I can. Please get as many out there and get them done so I can move on in this campaign and get other things done. It's critically important that we get this over with.
So we're pushing for online. We're going to begin canvassing with your petitions as well. So we're going to work very hard to get those as many signatures as we can.
We're breaking up again. I'm going to come right back. Oh, there you are.
Okay, so I said we're going to push the online petition signatures through the Secretary of State's website.
Can you hear me at least?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay, so we're pushing the online through the Secretary of State's website for petition signatures, and we will be canvassing. We're going to start canvassing, bringing your petitions to door. So we're going to be working hard on it.
Okay.
I know we have a question from Janelle Elwin. She has a question for you. Janelle, if you will unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Congressman O'Halloran, for being with us. And I have a question that I ask your forgiveness if it's naive. I don't know all the ins and outs of legislating. I heard this on the Tom Hartman program. Some of your colleagues, Ro Khanna and Mark Pocan, are regular guests on his program. And I heard this suggestion that sounds good to me. And I wanted to ask you, is it feasible? And is anybody considering it? Because some people objected the $3.5 trillion price tag in the 10-year bill, the person suggested that it be pared down to a 3-year bill with a $1 trillion price tag, or whatever the dollar amount ends up being. And if we could push that through a shorter time frame and a lower dollar figure, once people have some of these benefits, it's going to be very hard, just like Medicare, Social Security, and the Affordable Care Act, to pull it away in 3 years. Is that feasible to do that? I know they've already whittled it down to almost less than 2 trillion, but this wouldn't take any of the programs away. It would just shorten the time frame and the cost.
Well, not all the programs are something that's going to be a priority for our nation long term, and you can only work on so many of these. We have whittled it down. It's half of 3.5. We have gotten it to the point where we're in a position to be able to have less years involved, so that we can. But you need enough time in all of these programs to get them up and working. If you don't get them working, it's not going to get us to where we need. Somebody shake their head every once in a while, so I know I'm on. Okay, good. And then so we're not going to go there, because we don't have the time to go there. The longer this takes, the worse it's going to be to keep the House and the Senate. We can only lose 1 seat in the Senate, and we can only lose 3 seats in the House. We can't afford to keep going. We have to show the country that we are leaders, and we have to show the country that when we do develop the programs, they're meaningful programs to the American people. And you can't do that by trying to develop 50 programs at the same time. And so we've gotten it to a level where, there's about the conversation today, there's about $600 billion towards climate change. there's enough money in between the two bills. There's enough money in there, 400 and some billion dollars for childcare and education and some of the other issues. There's no free community college, but they reworded some structure of community colleges so that vocational education within community college structures will get funded, and on and on. But the idea that all these programs, there was a wish list. Let's make no doubt about it. And the reality is, just like you, if you have a bunch of wishes, you have to sit down at the kitchen table and try to figure out which ones are going to mean the most to your family. And that's exactly the direction we're going in. And it has been scaled down, not just by money, but by years. But it has to be also enough years to make, when we do go back, that the case is sound, that we have the ability to show people that these programs have been successful. And 1 year will not do it to any of these programs, because you don't even get the rules and the regulations done for 18 months. So I hope that answers your question.
All right. So our next question is from Larry.
Yes, Tom.
Hey, Larry.
Your constituents in the House, do they really understand that they're making us look like fools? You've got something that's already passed, and yet they're holding it up because the other side won't play games. And we know she isn't going to play the game. Why not pass the thing that's already been approved?
What I've said, well, that was the infrastructure bill that we were supposed to get approved up and going today. And part of the trust is that there are those in the caucus that do not believe that unless they hear from the mouths of the two senators over there that they are on board with everything, that they want to give up on having that leverage of the infrastructure bill. Today was a dark day for us.
It's making us look like fools, that we can't even get one thing passed.
The idea that we have the American president landing over there after having come and pleaded his case to our caucus, landing over there and ending up not being able to say have a big win. This is just not, it's politically not good. It's,
no.
From the standpoint of public policy, it's not good. And today it's one thing to lose a bill and you have a shot at fighting back for it. It's another thing to go out and impact our foreign policy, our military, our ability to have other nations respect us, our whole State Department philosophy. That's what's over there right now. And all we had to do is pass a bill that we did not have to send back to the Senate.
Yep, exactly. You're giving political fodder to your opponents and losing the independents, because the independents now don't trust us either.
Totally.
Yeah. And those votes that we need to keep the majority, it's going to depend on a huge turnout from Democrats.
Yep.
And it's also going to depend on making sure we get the independents on our side. And this process has not helped that process at all.
Amen.
Our next question, thank you, Larry. Our next question is from John Hatt.
Thank you for the work you've done to get our Navajo Nation some solar power and, taking another step and somehow get Arizona on board to have battery backup. The question I as well have is, can we get some better communicating going on? Like, we're taking a big hit from the crazy Fox News idiots and all those people that follow that stuff. I'm a dual citizen. I worked 28 years covert law enforcement, both sides of the border in narcotics. So I've worked with both sides. We're not getting the messaging out. Canada is having an inflation problem too. We're suspecting 5%. Our gasoline in British Columbia today was $5.80. diesel was $6.10. So it's not about pipelines. You know, as a Canadian having family working in the oil industry, we have over 60 pipelines carrying natural gas and crude oil to the United States. And they're saying, oh, the price of fuel is going up, fuel, gas, because we stopped the Keystone pipeline. You know, we need some better messaging. And, you know, we've got the messaging that we've, you know, giving the Navajo Nation some power, but now we need to give them some water. We need to look after the people that were persecuted and died for this country, as you and I put our lives on the line, you know, trying to make this a better country. And so somehow we need to get better messaging out. You know, to get your name, I think I had the only Tom O'Halloran sign last election cycle that I had to steal from out in front of the Robeson Ranch to get one here. And, you know, I got neighbors that won't talk to me about it, but I don't care. I got a mouth, I'm going to talk about it. And I'm going to tell them, you know, I put solar on my house. I'm not paying a bill and I'm grateful to donate into the grid. But we need better messaging. And, you know, when we hear false messaging about, you know, inflation, the whole world is going through inflation. Right now in India, I have friends in Canada, Indians. It takes them, they make 300 to 400 rupees a day. A liter of, and it takes 3.78 liters to make a gallon. It takes 350 rupees to buy 4 liters there. So, you know, we're not the only country that's dealing with it, you know, as things go up, but, you know, we need to get the messaging out, Tom. I'm repeating myself, but I'm frustrated because the public is not hearing our message.
Well, as most people on this know, that I used to be a Republican. We all make mistakes in life. But, you know, when I first got into the Congress, got sworn in on January 3rd of 17. By February, the middle of February of 17, I had already gone to leadership and said, your messaging is terrible. And I have given that message year after year after year that I've been there. It is a message that is designed basically for each individual legislator to go back to their districts and make the message of what works for their district the best. Well, and that some people don't feel that that message is something that has to be a national message. There's a cost to that. I don't know if it's a $50 million cost or $60 million cost, but there's also a cost for not answering lies, for not responding to half-truths, for not addressing things that are out and outright not factual, and not going and saying, here are the facts to the American public. And the longer you allow the other opposing side to do that to you, the harder it is for you to ever get back to where you were. And it's wrong not to allow the American people to know what they have today is a result of a lot of what the Democratic Party did for them decade after decade after decade. And it's wrong for us not to go out and look into the future and say, what we're doing for you today, what we're trying to get done for you today, here is what the meaning of it is going to be. Now, I and others delivered that same message to the White House on Friday of last week. And I think the president heard that message. I know it. I sat and talked to him right there. But it takes, some people feel that the fact that we're caring about people is going to be the overriding issue. People don't know what these bills are doing unless we educate people on what the meaning of the bill is, what the long-term impact of their families is, how the change on climate is going to affect them. I mean, I know it's on the news all the time, but there are those out there that just say, well, it's just a normal part of a cycle. Oh, when you go and you look at the science of it, these are cycles that have never happened in the history of our Earth. And we know that at least as far back as millions of years ago. And so this is, you don't educate people, just as I've said to this group and many others, you don't start running for and working hard to get people elected to office 6 months before the election. It's all the time. You have to work at it and work at it and work at it. It's like a job. If I want to do my job and want to stay on that job and not get fired, I have to do that job all the time. Whenever I'm supposed to be at work, I got to be at work. Whatever I'm supposed to do, I should do it to the best of my ability. And that goes for the political party. We need to understand the communication system of today is not like it was in 2010, in 2000, in 1990. This is different, totally different. And we have to recognize that and use it to the best of our abilities. And we, quite frankly, are not doing that. And within the last 2 months, I bet I've had that conversation with people in Washington, D.C., where I'm at right now, probably 10 times at least. And I'm not the only one that's saying this. We have 30, 35 members that are kind of at risk, severely at risk, quite frankly. And we're going to get a lot of money from the party to run our races. But every time somebody else gets out there, I don't care if it's in the middle of San Francisco or middle of New York or any of the other areas that aren't red, and starts making statements without thinking about the long-term impacts, or that we don't have, before they go out, they say to leadership, here's what I want to do. How do we work together to get this message out to the American people? That's not done. And when a message does go out, you need to sit in a room with everybody and say, here's how we want this message to go forward. Don't just send me a text and say, this is the message of the day. If I'm not going to know how that fits in on the total messaging plan for and public relations and media plan for the Democratic Party moving forward. And that's where we're missing the boat. So you're 100% right, John.
So along those lines, so I've been waiting, Tom and James, I've been waiting for these two bills to pass because I don't want to just keep repeating what's going on in the news cycle. But once they pass, we've got a team of letter to the editor writers that are going to be putting in, we're going to be going not at the cost of the bill, but we're going to be promoting all the good things that are in the bill. I'm going to be coordinating with James on messaging, but we're going to be hitting the local newspaper here with promoting what the Democratic Party has done for people at their kitchen table, in their lives, how they've directly impacted them in a positive way. So we'll be getting a lot of that kind of messaging out.
And that's exactly what we have to do. I don't want to hear, people get sick of even me going, well, this bill shows that we have $600 billion for this and $700 million for this. And what does that mean to you? What's going to change in your life? What is that going to mean for your children and grandchildren into the future? These are the things we have to touch hearts. And on the other side, we have to ask the questions. And I brought this up earlier today. I said, would somebody tell me when somebody gets up on television, whether it's Fox News or whatever, and they say, well, all they're doing is putting us into more and more and more debt. And then ask them, okay, what is your plan for the people of America that are not being able to live life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? What is your plan, whatever the Republican opponent is, or whatever the opponent is? Just tell me your plan and why you think that we don't have to spend some money, and that some of that money belongs to helping others, not just to make sure. I want to see corporations successful because those jobs are meaningful to the American public. But I don't want to see the idea that they're not going to pay their fair share to make sure that the American public takes benefits from their success also, because they sure enough get enough tax breaks on loopholes that aren't going to be touched. You know, we have a fight now going on today, yesterday, last week, about having at least the people that never pay taxes, not citizens, the higher end people, that's another issue, but corporations that, you know, whether it's 51 year or 90 another year or whatever, they don't pay their taxes, or they don't pay any taxes. And then somebody walks away with and says, well, I'm worth 60 more billion dollars this year than I was last year. Well, what's that about? While more people are dying and more families are we don't have mental health care, so more families are suffering through that and illness and the inability to keep families together. I mean, it's time for a discussion in this country about the priorities of our nation for all citizens, not just the few.
So we have time for one more question. Debbie Broom, you have a question for Tom?
I didn't have a question, but I just had a statement that I get. I mean, the feeling that I have with the friends and relatives and people that I speak with all the time about whatever's going on in Washington, do they know there that we look so weak? And it seems like, boy, we have our chance right now, and you know, a whole year has gone by, and what have we done? And man, the independents are going to leave us in droves if we do not do something quick. It just feels like we're on a sinking ship, and I'm so sorry. I will be a Democrat until I die, and always uphold those principles, but it's really hard to get those other people along if they are laughing at us and wondering what the hell is going on.
Well, you know, I would remind everybody that within the first month of the president taking office, we passed the American Rescue Plan. And that's $1.9 trillion that went out to the American people to help American people through a pandemic. Not one Republican got on that bill, not one Republican. And they said, well, the pandemic's almost over with. Why should we keep doing this? Well, because the pandemic was not almost over with. We're still going through it. And those benefits went straight to where they needed to go to keep our nation strong. And when we did the first 4 bills, Democrats were the leaders on those. Republicans got on in a bipartisan way, but it was the Democratic Party that led that for the CARES Act and all that. And in the end result was that now, today, without a doubt, economically, whether the American people want to believe it or not, we are the strongest country in the world economically, because I heard it earlier. Other places are suffering much more than we are. The European community, Japan, China. You know, China, part of the reason there's inflation in this world today is there's a huge demand for product because we have people making money, and the shipments couldn't be made because they had closed their ports and their factories down. And now they're just trying to catch up. And all the inventory that was in their factories that couldn't be shipped out is lined up on our shorelines. Now, the other side is our harbors are terrible. That's why we're doing the infrastructure bill. But nobody ever expected that you'd have hundreds of ships coming out of China and Japan at the same time and say, oh, look what they're doing over in America. They don't know what they're doing. And the inflationary cycle, as was directed, addressed a little bit earlier, that's everywhere. If we're in inflation, everybody's in inflation.
Yeah.
Go to Saudi Arabia with all their money. They're going through an inflationary cycle right now. And I just, but it's partially our fault because we are not trying to, we allow people to go out. Look what the Biden administration is doing to inflation and gas prices and all this other stuff. The president hasn't gone out and shut down production of gasoline in our country.
No.
These are policies that are going to be on to get rid of carbon for a long time to come. We still have hundreds of coal generation plants. Electricity is available. We have 20% renewables out there right now, but a lot of that, quite frankly, is hydro. But the bottom line is that does this country make mistakes at times? Yes. Are we making big mistakes right now that some party can go out and say we're the reason why our country is not where it needs to be? Where have they been as when they were in control and cutting taxes when we needed to build the roads and bridges that we now have to build at twice the cost? Where were they when we needed to improve our healthcare industry and sat back and said, we don't want to do anything? Where have they been? Because they're the ones that are the major perpetrators of not addressing prescription drug issues. Where have they been on that issue? And what is their plan to address those issues? We have to challenge them every time they come out with these stupid things and demand from them. If you have a plan, tell us. Otherwise, all it is words to the wind, and it's all about politics. It's all about obstructionism, and it can't be. If I'll work with anybody to find a way to address the priorities of our nation, but just don't tell me that it's all about, saying as long as we cut taxes, which we've done for decades now, that we'll all be okay. We're not going to all be okay because everybody has to be in this effort together.
Thank you very much. That needs to be our message.
Yes.
It does. All of what you just said needs to be our message.
So
Well,
I
you
took
haven't
notes.
been the only people I've said that to.
I took notes on that answer, Tom, and I'm in agreement with Debbie. That needs to be our message, and we're going to get some of that message out, at least in the Casa Grande area, through the local newspaper in the next few days. And once the bill's passed, we're going to start hitting hard on letting people know exactly what you said, how it impacts their lives directly. And
So let me ask this question though. Is there a cohesive plan of action on getting these messages out with you and the Arizona Democratic Party?
So not with the state party, other than I work with Charlie Kemp, who's our local. I never remember her title actually, but she's the Pinal County field organizer from the state party. Lisa Sanor with the Pinal County Democrats, and I've been working with James on coordinating messaging. So not directly with anybody from ADP. No one's contacted.
They should be, and we have information too that you should be asking for, but they should be on a regular basis supplying you with enough information to your citizens to be able to put out factual information on a consistent basis. You shouldn't have to be doing any guesswork. Just write those letters and get them out. But base them on fact. Don't let them don't get in a habit of just writing that things that you cannot back up factually. Because I remember, and I'll be quick, what's his name? Russell Pierce. And he obviously was a problem when I was in the legislature. And he lost every floor debate with me, every single one of them, because he'd get down there and start ranting and raving about all this stuff. And the end result was when I got up, I said, I countered him with factual content based on some of the stuff that he had gotten from his own party. Well, I was in the same party at the time. But anyway, but you can just, we have to get back to those days when facts meant something and integrity meant something. And it wasn't just about lying to people in order to gain power. And right now, we are in heavy seas, and we need to get out of them. And one of the only ways we're going to do it is good, practical application of public policy for people, and also make sure that we get our messaging out and have grassroots support all the way through. We only have about a year to the general election.
Yeah,
We can't-
actually, yeah. The
Yeah,
early
you can't
voting will
afford
less
to-
than a year.
Yeah, we can't afford to waste that year. I've felt like some trapped cougar in Washington D.C. because we've had to be back here so much lately. You know, I feel my arms feel like they're tied behind my back because I can't get out to the district. But the cougar is now released as soon as these bills get out, and we will be all over the place. So thanks a lot for having me on tonight. Appreciate it. Anytime, I'd love to be able to talk with you. And even when there's still a possibility you're not going to be in the district next time. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. But if that's the case, I'm always a part of you. So just always give me a call if you need to.
Thank you, Tom. We will stay in touch no matter what. And as I said, we're going to follow you and work to make sure you get reelected regardless of how the maps are drawn.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Good night. So I got a message while Tom was speaking. I just want to pass this along quickly. Evelyn Silman, she's the chair of the Marana Dems, has taken a fall, and she had some brain bleeding and a mild heart attack. She's in the hospital. So if you know Evelyn and can send her a get well wish, I'm sure she would appreciate it. If you don't have her contact information and you would like to, let me know and I'll get that to you. So thanks everyone for being on. We had some new people. I knew it was going to be a long meeting, and it was Stevie suggested that I let people introduce themselves, and I will do that next time. So if you're new, come on back. We want to get to know you a little bit. We'll have you introduce yourself and give us a little intro so we can get to know you better. Our next meeting is going to be Thursday, November 18th. Again, it'll be by Zoom. And the reason it's the 18th, which is the third Thursday, is because the fourth Thursday is Thanksgiving, and I will be eating a delicious meal cooked by my lovely wife, Pat, on that day, and I will not be doing any Zoom meetings. So we're moving to the third Thursday. Again, it'll be by Zoom. You'll get a notice. Right now, we've invited two candidates to speak to us. Adrian Fontes, who's the Democratic candidate for Secretary of State, and Lauren Kuby, who is Democratic candidate for Arizona Corporation Commission. If you were at the gala, and I want to let Lisa know, the gala, the Pinal County Democrats gala, was a big success. Everybody had a great time. A lot of candidates spoke. Some of them spoke a little too long, like I'm doing right now, but it was a great time, and everybody enjoyed it. I think that's all I've got. We're going to shoot for meeting in person in January. We're not going to have a December meeting. So keep in mind, you can re-up your dues, $20 per person on the website, or send us a check. If you need an address to do that, let me know. I'll get it to you. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Have a great Halloween. We'll see you at the upcoming kickoffs, the volunteer and canvassing kickoffs, parade coming up January 6th or November 6th. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Casa Grande.